Hello, my friends. Hello, and welcome back. We got another episode of Guardians Daily for you. As always, presented by Arch. I'm your host, Luke Gable, and happy to have you with us. Another loss yesterday for your Cleveland Guardians. Not ideal. Not ideal at all. Not an ideal road stretch. Not on a good road trip for the team. Showed some promise, showed a lot of fight in that series in St. Louis. You were thinking you're going to come out of here, you're going to win the series on Tuesday, and obviously the tough ninth inning and eighth inning, honestly, with the Weatherhold homer from Tuesday night, and it kind of just stunk and hung over like a little cloud over the team to yesterday. And now you go from we're winning the series, we're already done, we've already done our job against St. Louis. Now we have a chance to go sweep on Wednesday. To we got a Wednesday afternoon game, St. Louis. Now you lost back-to-back series because of the series in Atlanta as well. And then just like we said, the energy kind of turns when you lose a game like that. And now it's their job to come home, play the Baltimore Orioles, and get on with it. Kind of just got to keep the ball rolling. There's 162 games in the season. You're going to have tough losses. You're going to lose games where you don't feel like you got beat and you beat yourself. And now it's our job to go make other teams feel that way going forward. Try and make this like it kind of felt like they kind of got beat in St. Louis by Guardians ball, like guards ball that they like to coin. That's kind of what it felt like. St. Louis played just kind of smart, heady baseball. They were good on the base pass. They didn't make any mistakes, and they had some hit and run. They had some old, like just kind of old school baseball. And yeah, they kind of beat us with our own game, and that's tough to swallow. And now you kind of just got to move on. I know it's tough after a series where you feel like you were about to win a series and then you go to Wednesday, you're in that game early, especially. You're lost 5-3. It's not like it's a game where you got blown out. Had an early lead, Manzardo with the RBI single early. Had a nice game for Manzardo at the plate, which we've been waiting for, and we're still hoping for more and that power to really come in, especially in the middle of the lineup. It needs it right now, and it's just lacking. And then just the overall power of this lineup is not there. Even though the offense has been better, obviously the big blowout in the first game against the Cardinals, and your vibes were high. So how do we respond? How do we respond? Coming home, we got a four-game stretch against Baltimore, and then Houston comes in on Monday. So there's no days off. We're playing Thursday. Thursday is usually that travel day where teams sometimes tend to get the day off, get that rest. None for us. We're going straight through. We're in that part of the schedule. It's a grind right now, especially early season. Everyone's still getting into baseball into midseason form. So, gonna be interesting to watch this weekend. And then you got Houston right at you right here on Monday. So it's not like we get any rest after that. It is nice. We get a little home stand, a little rest and things for us to come through, come in, play at Progressive Field. Ballpark's going to be juiced this weekend. I'm assuming the weather's supposed to be pretty nice. You know how, this is a first chance, like late spring, early summer's coming around the corner. That's Progressive Field's home spot. Like the weekend games, the night games, this crowd's going to be into it. Hopefully, the weather with rain isn't a big factor because it's going to be fun down there in downtown Cleveland at Progressive Field. And then you got Thursday night, you got your guy on the mound. It's kind of what you're looking for. You got Parker Messick, and then we get to Bybee on Friday. Who knows what version of Tanner Bybee we're going to get? It hasn't been good so far this year. Hasn't been disastrous, and I know I've talked about Tanner Bybee a lot. But we don't have to spend more time on it, or we can. What else do we have to talk about? Not that much. Kind of a boring game yesterday. So Tanner Bybee going to pitch Friday, and then I think this is a big start for Bybee on Friday night. I think that's the main thing I'm watching this weekend. Obviously, there's stuff with the lineup and the offense, and I'm kind of interested to see where people get placed in the field and things like that as all the adjustments come back. New people coming back from the IL. We'll be interested to see how the Valera, Brito, Schneeman. I always like to see how Vogt manages that because he has so many utility guys who can play multiple positions. Gonna be interesting to see where he ends up putting people this weekend. Tanner Bybee, I think this is one of the most important. It's as important a start you can have for April 17th. I'll put it that way. April 17th, you pretty much think this is pretty low stakes baseball, which it relatively is. But you're going to have a nice crowd Friday night baseball. People are excited. People are frustrated as hell with Tanner Bybee right now. It's one of the top things I see, and I think a lot of that comes from the fact he got his contract. Guardians, for years, we've lost guys because we can't extend them earlier in their careers, and then we have to move them when the value's there because we can't afford to pay them. We tried to beat that with Tanner Bybee because that's the path it seemed like he was on. He was projecting to be one of the best arms in baseball, certainly one of the best pitchers on this team at a minimum, you would think. And like they gave him that ace nickname. They were calling him the ace in that series against the Yankees in the playoffs a few years ago. He wasn't poor. I mean, he wasn't great in that series either, if you ask me, but it still got you where you wanted to be. And you kind of felt like he was the guy. So they gave him the extension. And since then, it just hasn't been the same. Down the stretch last year, he was finished the season strong, and you kind of thought that might be what you're getting. But to start this year and even in spring, there just doesn't seem to be that confidence out there when he's on the mound. I think he just seems almost scared to get hit. Like he's that when he throws those fastballs he's just scared to throw a fastball over the plate. And honestly, at this point, I can't blame him. You're gonna get a little scared after it's just been getting teed off on. He's got one of the most hit fastballs rate wise and percentage wise in baseball, and it just hasn't been what you expected from him if you asked me in 2024, 2023, even early like late 2020, like what you want to see from him. It just hasn't been there. So knowing that, knowing the crowd is going to already there's going to be a little bit of an energy in the crowd of man, Bybee, of course. If things go awry early, and that's where things start to turn and you spiral for a guy like him. And in some of these starts, he'll go 3 innings looking like himself. I mean, obviously he's not throwing with the velocity he used to. Like even in like his rookie year and in Columbus, and like when he was coming up, it was like this guy throws 98. He sits 98. He can get up to 100, and he's just got great velocity. That's not the case anymore. If he gets to 95, I'm kind of impressed at this point, and he doesn't do it that often. He sits more 94, 93. I mean, he can get. I mean, I'm sure that's also in with these starters, like they have to hold something back. But Gavin throws 98 consistently. And it's hard. Gavin Williams, big. I mean, they call him the big rig. He's a big boy. And he's just kind of a hoss, and he throws heat. I get that, but Tanner Bybee used to have that type of stuff when you looked at his numbers, and it's not there anymore. And I feel like that has to affect your confidence in some way, right? When you're seeing those numbers just dwindle by season and your ERA go up by season, I think confidence becomes a big part of pitching, especially for a guy like Bobby, who we've seen is a bit of a head case in terms of mentally. He puts a lot of pressure on himself. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, he wants to be better. Like this isn't a thing where it's low effort or anything like that. He wants to be the best pitcher he can, but it's not there right now. And I don't know what the result's going to be. One it would be great if Tanner Bobby could just go throw a gem on Friday night. I know we have that game to come. We can talk about this more in tomorrow's episode, previewing the weekend and Friday through Saturday through Sunday games. But I'd love to see a Tanner Bybee step up on Friday Night Baseball. But before we even get there, we have a guy who has been an ace-like pitcher so far to start this season, and it's Parker Messick. Parker Messick has been awesome, giving up the 1 run, and it's not like he's faced these. It's not like he's facing the White Sox. I was gonna say the Twins, but Twins actually have not been bad this year. He's not facing these low-level teams. This is Dodgers, Cubs, Braves, 1 run given up. Now, I'll repeat that. Dodgers, Cubs, Braves are the 3 teams he's faced so far this year. And he's given up a single earned run. That's absurd. And that's what you want. I mean, if Tanner Bybee had those numbers, I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't be talking about him the way I have. And he's just got like a little bit of swagger out there. He's got a kind of a funky windup, and like his delivery, I think, gives batters a hard time. It's not like he's got the craziest velocity or anything like that. His off speed's been really just filthy to start the year. It's not getting touched. Not a lot of hard contact against him at all. And he's doing a really good job. He's not walking guys either. Like Rich, these are all things you don't see from he's a rookie. I know he pitched down the stretch last year, but he's a rookie. This is his rookie season, and he's been one of the best pitchers in the league. I'm assuming there's gonna be a time soon where that changes and he has one of those games where he gives up a couple and he kind of the numbers start to come back to reality. Hey, pitch every 5 days, you kind of just keep doing this. It's gonna take a while for those numbers to change, and you kind of just keep yourself there. I think he's got a chance to be an all-star this year, and that's I mean, oh wow, the guy who's gonna have one run all season has a chance to be an all-star. Great take. Yeah, I get that. But when you go into a season, he's your fifth starter. He's the fifth guy in this rotation, and he's on pace. I mean, he obviously like the pace stuff. It's still so early to get into like what could this season be like, things like that. But you can get into what it's looked like and who he's faced and what the results have been, and just make an obvious correlation that this guy's pretty darn good. And I think he's just going to continue to be like it. Even last year when he came up, he really wasn't. He didn't have a bad start. Maybe one or two. I don't remember any. Like he came up and just kind of he dealt when he was here towards the down the stretch last year. And he's a guy. It seems like they have just a lot of trust in for a guy so young and so early in his career. So that's gonna be one thing to look at. Oh, I spelled continue wrong. Whatever. That's life. Production error. Blame me. So be it. But Parker Messick on the mound Thursday night against the Baltimore Orioles. Gonna be curious what that looks like. This is a good Baltimore lineup. Obviously, Gunnar Henderson, one of the best hitters, best players in the sport. You got Mountcastle, who just got hurt. There's Jordan Westberg. There's a lot of things to like. Adley Rutschman, met him at a bar in Siesta Key when they were on spring training. Pretty cool. But a lot to like in this Baltimore lineup. They're kind of hovering right around 500 to start going into this series. So as we game above it. So both teams could really use a series win. Maybe you know what? I'm going to make a prediction right now. I think we're going to split this series 2-2. I think both teams can walk out there with their head high as long as the wins come in the fashions that come acceptable. Even though it really doesn't matter how you win, does it? But I think the split is a very likely scenario for this weekend. Another thing coming into this weekend, what's the lineup going to look like? There's been a lot of questions. Obviously, Valera's back. Martinez has been on kind of a hot streak. DeLauder's cooled off. I mean, DeLauder was still been DeLauder, but not the torrid home run pace we was on early. So that's kind of fallen off a little bit, which is natural. I mean, he's not going to hit 5 home runs every 5 games. It's not be crazy here. How are we going to construct things going forward? And it's been a lot right-handed versus left-handed debate. I mean, not debate necessarily, but just how we're going to configure this lineup has been very heavily influenced by righty or lefty. And it makes sense considering the numbers with Manzardo, Hoskins, Fry. But Fry's not giving you anything at the plate right now. Unfortunately, Hoskins has not been as much giving as productive as you would like either, nor has Manzardo. And that's supposed to be one of those three guys is supposed to be your 4-5 hitter. Some combo of those two. Obviously, against the lefties, they've moved Chase down into that 5 slot a couple times, let Angel come into the 2 spot, which kind of worked very nicely. Almost at a certain point, when we're facing lefties, which we aren't tonight, do we just move the Lauder into that 4 spot and Angel into the 2? I know it's not like you don't love him against lefties, but look at the options right now. Manzardo's not you don't want Manzardo there against lefty. Fry, I can't stand in the middle of this lineup any longer unless something drastic changes, which tell me when. So what is the answer for those questions? Like how do they approach things? Valera even could he slide up in towards the middle of that order, maybe the 4 or 5 slot? This is more that'd be against righties. Like where is there an opportunity for one of these guys to step in because of the struggles at the middle of the lineup? The bottom of the lineup's actually been pretty darn good lately with what you're getting from Rocchio and Brito, those middle infield guys, and Schneemann. Like those three are actually been. You feel much more confident with them, honestly, than I have with Hoskins, Fry, Manzardo at bat. And that's not great because those guys are supposed to be further down at the bottom of the lineup for a reason, and they're not the power threats. But Schneemann, Rocchio, Brito has been clearly more productive bats than Zardo, Fry, Hoskins. But that's not a recipe for success. So where do they go from here? in the middle of this lineup. How do they get those guys going? And if they don't, does someone else get an opportunity? Keep an eye on it, see how things go tonight. And then we'll be back with a weekend preview. And I know we talked a lot about this weekend series in today's episode, but tomorrow we'll give a full weekend preview. Everything after we've seen a little bit of a glimpse with Parker Messick on the mound tonight against the Baltimore Orioles. Hopefully, we can start the series with a win. And as always, go Guardians. Appreciate you tuning in.